Welcome to PodcastOne. We hope you'll support our sponsors who bring you these podcasts absolutely free and with limited interruptions. And of course, we appreciate you listening to this show, which will get started in just a second. The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California. I'm coming to you from 317 Gimmick Street, and my guest today is former UFC heavyweight champion Josh Barnett. Today, we're going to be talking about pro wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, and MMA. Josh came over. We started shooting the breeze and having a good time, so we talked for such a good while. I'm going to keep this open very short so we can get right into the conversation. Here's a reminder that Josh Barnett is Jim Ross's broadcast partner for New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV. You can see the matches every Friday night starting at 7, 6 Central. And New Japan is coming to Southern California next month. The G1 special is happening in Long Beach at the Convention Center on July 1st and 2nd. Both Josh and Jim Ross will be there to call the action live, and according to my sources here, while I'm seeing it on the internet, you can still get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Hey, as I said, I'm going to keep this open very short and jump into my conversation with Josh Barnett, but before we do, I know everybody's got a to-do list. Drop off the dry cleaning, pick up some milk. Here's one for you. Let's save hundreds of dollars on car insurance. And the good thing is, you ain't got to drop off or pick up anything. All you have to do is go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you can be saving 15% or more on car insurance. Extra money in your pocket, it just may be the most rewarding to do you do today.
Adam Carolla's motivational podcast, Take a Knee, is a part of PodcastOne Premium. But you can hear a very special episode with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar now for free at PodcastOne.com.
How much do you think that discipline has affected your life and helped you in further endeavors after
It's helped me a lot because, when you get to a point when you can look back, all the times that I failed had to do with my own laziness and arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when you get humble and understand that you got to work for it and earn it, you get things done.
To subscribe and get a new episode of Take a Knee each week, go to PodcastOne.com/premium.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I'm sitting across the table from Josh Barnett, former UFC heavyweight champion, currently doing some commentary work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. What's up?
Gearing up for July 1st and 2nd when me and good old JR are going to sit down there live, call the first ever full-blood New Japan Pro Wrestling show in the United States.
Long Beach, the LBC, as we would say in Los Angeles, California. Why Long Beach?
Hell if I know. I guess maybe that was the only place they thought they could book this thing. I know that there's a good chunk of Japanese community in, I believe it's in Torrance. And then also, I don't think Long Beach is a hall for like this, like other little mini Tokyo that's in West LA off of Sawtell, that whole. But to be perfectly honest, I don't know. Maybe they thought it sounded like a good idea. Maybe it is. I mean, it sold out both days in like 5 minutes.
Man, with that high IQ you got, I thought I was going to get some kind of scientific answer. Hell if I know.
Do I? Hey, man, do I look like I'm The Office? I am not The Office.
Yeah, but if a guy like you with your IQ and your fighting skill says, hell if I know, I'm buying it. Hey, do you know what the card's going to be yet?
I don't exactly. To be perfectly honest, though, I'm the worst guy for that because people go, "Oh, well, hey, have you heard about this? You watch this?" I go, "I don't watch a goddamn thing." I show up in the booth, I look over some notes, and I call action. I watch wrestling, and I call wrestling. That's what I do. I don't, most of the storyline stuff isn't as super important, and if it is, it's in my notes, so I'm good to go.
Did you get a chance to see Omega Okada too?
Nope. That's on Dominion, which me and JR are going to cut on the 27th. We're going to do, I don't know, probably 4 episodes on that day. I think we can get through 4 because they're each an hour long. It kind of takes it out of you. But we're going to cut it then, and then I think they're going to air it on Friday.
I watched it, but I got on it on Daily Motion. I saw part 2, which is about 33 minutes, and then I saw part 1 after that. So I saw it out of sequence.
Ah.
And it was a hell of a match. And, well, obviously you probably have heard something about it, right?
A little bit. I heard
6-minute Broadway. I'm not telling you anything other than that. So 6-minute Broadway. So when you watch a Broadway and the second half first and then watch the first half and try to put it together, because I wasn't going to spend an entire hour and rewatch it in chronological sequence. Damn, it was a hell of a match. If I was trying to say, was it as good as the first one? Every bit of it. Was it better? Man, I don't know. It all depends on where you fall on the Richter scale, because the first one was so epic. This one's just as epic. To say which one was better, can't tell you.
Well, I think that one thing that is that when Omega wrestles Okada, and I haven't seen the second one yet, but I remember the first one, I felt like Okada brought out the best in him. None of the stupid gimmick crap, no blowing cold spray in his crotch and doing all this stuff that honestly drives me absolutely up the damn wall, because his talent level is incredible. But, some of the internet-based fandom stuff, I'm just like, man, it pisses on wrestling. But I'm a very serious person when it comes to wrestling, and I make a real delineation between comedy gimmick stuff and wrestling. There's room for everything. But when it comes to wrestling, I don't mix the two, So I like seeing Omega playing it like he really means it, and that to me brings out the best in his matches.
Man, that's what I thought when I just watch these guys, because I don't get a chance to see a whole lot of it. And to that being said, I don't get a whole lot of chance to see a whole lot of what WWE's doing. Mm-hmm. I try to watch a little bit on DVR, and I need to start DVRing New Japan. I owe everybody a beer. But when you're talking about you're probably just like I am, serious, hardcore wrestling fan. And there's spots on the card for some comedy, if you will. Mm-hmm. I'd like to call it levity.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big comedy guy. But in today's day and age, as far as United States wrestling goes, there is going to be a spot for that on the card. There has been for a long time. But if you have these two serious cats in the ring, I want both guys kind of playing it straight. And the way I look at these kind of matches, or these two matches with Omega and Okada is just that straightforward. He's just a good-looking, baby face. Mm-hmm. Good fire, but just straight up, reserved. And Omega's kind of that wild card. Yeah, he can go a little, comedy or whatever you want to call it, but he just kind of has that wild card side of it. He does so many things so well. Both of them do. It's a tremendous matchup, but when those two guys of that magnitude, of that talent get in the ring, I want to see straight up, no bullshit, wrestling with some, entertainment factor, if
character,
you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having character and having, Omega shown himself to be, maniacal or what have you. I mean, we've seen a maniacal wrestler before. That's called the Ultimate Warrior. We saw one before that. That was called Macho Man Randy Savage. But you didn't look at what Macho Man did in the ring, no matter how wild or crazy, and go, oh, this guy, oh, look, he's winking at us right now. Oh, he's doing a Smart reference, or he's, this is comedy. It's like, no, that ain't comedy. That guy's unhinged. Right. He's going to mess you up. Yeah. When he jumps off that top rope, he's putting that elbow through your forehead. It's not, it's all fun and games, but really when it comes down to it, this really means something. And that, of course, I think raises the stakes in the match that you watch, raises the stakes for each individual and why it should be important. I know that wrestling is exposed, but when you treat it like it's exposed, you just degrade the whole product. You cheapen the whole thing. And people want to go, oh, well, we know it's worked. But you know what? A movie's a work. But they don't sit there and go, by the way, hey, guess what? We're going to do something because we know it's special effects and try to make you watch something and try to emphasize that it's fake. Like, well, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't like the movie. You'd think it was terrible. And people watch CGI stuff that doesn't work right, and that people bitch and moan about it. Like, oh, it takes me out of the experience. Well, to me, treating wrestling like it's a work, treating it with no consideration towards actual combat, cheapens the product. It degrades it, and it's basically telling you, yeah, we don't care to actually make this seem real. We're just going to make it seem as unreal and like choreography as possible because, it's not real. So what do you care? It's like, but then there's no depth in that, and then it just then you get the ever escalating bigger move. Somebody's got to do, did a moonsault. Well, now you got to do a moonsault and a half. Now you got to do a fourth. Now you got to. It's like, well, but eventually at some point, someone's seen that move 2-3 times. It doesn't have the impact anymore. It's just.
What I liked about that match was just in that one match that I saw, I didn't see the whole card, just in the presentation, just going back to what you just said, it was treated like a shoot. We know it's a work, but they're presenting it as a shoot. Referee did a hellacious job. He was there for everything they need to be on. Both guys they looked like a couple of just superstars coming down that ramp. They got in the ring and, then they told a hell of a story for 60 minutes. Come out there with the ice bags and stuff, ice a guy down. A couple of guys from Bullet Club.
The Young Bucks probably.
Young Bucks were out there, and then someone was out there for Okada. I guess as seconds. But they're just treating it like a shoot. And that's what I really enjoyed about the match, just the action itself. Yeah, the story itself, great. But just the way they treated it, the way they shot it. And, man, I just feel like, I'm a WWE guy. Have been since 95. I just wish they'd present it in a little bit more serious light. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Just like New Japan does. Yes. Because, when I was there, when I switched heel, because I had those 3 broke bones in my back, we did some comedic stuff.
Sure.
But I was just trying to do something just because I couldn't do anything to get heat. And so do I want to do something to just try to entertain people or do something? You can't elicit a reaction or just – I couldn't get no heat on nobody. So we started doing those comedy type things. So to say I've never done comedy, I've done a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was in the right vein for what I was doing at the time. But I just wish that American wrestling was presented more like this. Josh, look at this, because you watch this stuff every week. Just look at the crowd. When I watched that New Japan crowd, everybody was like 21 up. Into like 60s, 70s. And like American crowd, or at least WWE crowd, 5 to whatever.
Yeah, 25 maybe.
25.
Yeah, but that's on purpose. They design it that way.
Well, they designed it that way, but it's just, and it's presented that way.
Yes.
So that 5-year-old can understand it. And I guess me being 52 years old and being a crotchety guy, I just want that straightforward, serious stuff. Like when I know when AJ Styles and those guys get in there, they're going to light it up. That's when I tune in and turn on, because I got 2 badass guys out there giving me and not pandering. Because when you watch Okada Omega 2 and you go back to the first one or the body of stuff that you're calling right now, how many guys are sitting there, trying to ham and egg that crowd to jump in and join the match?
Too many. That's often, it's
in Japan?
Not in Japan that much, but even still, I've been seeing this influence that's been coming in more so from some of the American wrestlers, but. There's a bit of a want, and I think this comes from the indies, where I swear to God they're trying to get the crowd to pop as much as possible. I'm like, you know what? Why do you give a shit? Don't. If you're trying to make them do something, trust me. Well, you can get them to pop. That ain't that hard. That don't mean that this match is going to stick, though. That doesn't mean that they're really going to care. You know how you really make them care is you just go out there and you put your work on the mat, and you don't. And crowds get restless. I worked Jeff Cobb recently for this show to help my buddy out. His main event fell apart, and so I'm like, well, I'd like to wrestle Jeff Cobb. He's been to some of my seminars. He's a good dude. He freestyle wrestler. He's always got some shoot background. I think I can do something with him. And the crowd wants to be so much a part of the show. They want to chant. They want to be a part of all this stuff. And the whole time, I'm not feeding nothing. I'm not giving them anything. I'm just wrestling. And, at one point they turn on us and they start getting mad and trying to
heckle. You won't recognize them?
No, won't recognize them. Not giving them any high spots, not doing anything like that. And, all of a sudden I start hearing a smattering of voices, people heckling and what have you, and getting pissed. Just ignore it. And we keep working. And then they kind of die down and they get quiet. And then they clap, and you hear some stuff on some of these moments. And then all of a sudden, by everything working into what was the finish, which was just simply, I just told the ref goes, "What's the finish going to be tonight?" I go, "He'll tap out." And they go, well, okay. And the work up to that match was, hey, Jeff, I know that you got kind of this thing going on. What's the stuff that you like to work into, certain positions? Well, is that, okay, well, here, if I'm in these positions, I'll probably work to that. These things I'll probably try and work around. This is generally what I'm going to do. That's it. No setups, no spots, no anything. At points in the match, I might find a place where, I think he needs a rest, so I'll put him into a hold and start working him and, being like, well, but, hey, before the match, I go, don't let go of anything, because if you give it to me, I got to take it home. So make sure you're always fighting, but I'll take care of you. Just don't think I'm just going to hold your arm for like 30 seconds in an armbar. That's not going to happen. It's going. So if you have to get to the rope, get to the ropes, what have you. We're not going out of this ring. We're staying right in here. And by the end of the match, it was I just set myself up, rolled into his leg, crossed his ankles over, and I'm just crossing this guy's ankles over this cross heel hold, and the crowd starts going nuts. They don't even know what the going on at this point, but they know that this means something because of all the intent behind it. I tap him out, crowd blows up. It's just like, see, a little bit of patience. Allow a story to build itself out, and there will be a payoff at the end. But a lot of guys, even some of the promoters of these indie shows, are like, you should have popped him here and popped him there and done this. And it's like, nah, that's not how you work a crowd anyways,
Well, I mean, there's 8 other matches on the card for them to take those opportunities if they want to. You have your style of match, which you got to stick to because that's what brought you to the dance. Now, when you say if you stick your arm out there, I'm not going to hang on to it for 30 seconds, it's going. Is that a holdover from the Billy Robinson days? And
for sure.
Catch training? Talk to me about that.
To me, well, for one, if I was to go out there and work a hold, or I should say put a rest hold on someone in that vein, it's like, no. It takes away from the reality of what we're doing. It diminishes the impact of these things, too. I mean, they should count for something. And the more danger it seems as if anybody could be in, the more the stakes are raised for that match. And if I was to go out there and put an armbar on somebody and hold on to it fully extended with a guy like, reach into the crowd, like, help me out here, Billy he'd hit me with his damn cane, and Oki'd be mad as hell. Carl Gotch would not be happy about that either. So to me, I'm like, even when I wrestled Bobby and TNA, and I'm watching some of these guys do these matches and different flow, and I go, hey man, don't turn your back on me in this match at any point and start celebrating or calling to the crowd in any way. If you turn your back on me, I'm coming right after you. Like, just don't do it. This is a fight. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I go, but I'm just saying, because I know that's, that here people will do that. They'll turn their back. They'll do a bunch of stuff. They'll do some signature pose. Like, if you hit a signature pose on me, I'm going to deck you. Because you just backed off. You just gave me a spot. There's
an opening.
Yeah. Unless you put me into some position where I really need to be selling.
Right.
But even still, while you're...
Because of your style, that's insulting to who and what you are. It is. And it makes you look, you got egg on your face.
That, and it also, to me, it diminishes our match. It diminishes the intensity of what's going on there, the seriousness, the need of it. If it's going to come to a point where there's going to be, somebody's going to taunt someone, it needs to matter. And it needs to, like, embed itself into those fans out there about how not only racy that this whole concept is of doing that to your opponent, who is just as equally deadly to you, or maybe more so than you are to them, but it needs to put you over as that heel, like, you're a terrible person,
See, just hearing you lay that down, I would have liked to work with you. Just listen to you how you explain that. And dude, I was a complete work wrestler. I don't know anything real.
Sure.
You come from a shoot background, but just your mentality.
But look at the difference of your era, though. I tried to explain to some folks, I go, hey, Dusty Rhodes? I'm like, yeah. I go, that guy was recruited by the NFL and turned it down to be a wrestler? Oh, how about Ric Flair was like a All-American, like, football player and power lifter and all this. The Road Warriors were like the toughest dudes around that used to kick the crap out of people every night as bouncers, or Dick Murdoch or any, like, these guys were all tough as shit. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in pro wrestling back then. It would never have happened. You should see the training camps that Billy Robinson and Vern Gagne put these guys through. I mean, Ric Flair can ham and egg it up with anybody. The guy's hilarious. The guy is a pro at cutting promos and being a personality. But he got to that point by being a legitimately tough dude. And he could go out there and work Steamboat, and he could go out there and work Magnum TA and whoever, and have these matches that really meant something, because this guy can go if he needed to. But he didn't need to. It's the mentality. It's like this guy told me one time, think, shoot, but work. Kind of stuck to my head.
I think you can think, shoot, but work to a point.
Yeah.
Because, if you're thinking shoot, but, let's talk about some of your matches that you've had. I just watched a match on YouTube. Japanese guy, Shinsuke.
Probably thinking of Suzuki, who's actually really climbing up the ranks here. Hideki Suzuki, I did that at Dream, and we did a match on a shoot card in a shoot ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a work.
Total work. But, I mean, the whole thing was, again, with him, it was no high spots, no nothing. Here's the go home. He was also, Hideki Suzuki, by the way, his work is incredible, guys. Anybody out there really a fan of watching Japanese wrestling, go look up Hideki Suzuki's stuff on YouTube. Kid is amazing. He's one of Billy's boys. He started all his wrestling comes from Billy Robinson. And so we just went out there and like, all right, cool, let's just do this. And there's a few little things in here that I put together, but otherwise just to make sure he's safe. That's it. Like, hey, you ever taken a Northern Lights bomb? No, don't worry about it. I got you.
Now, if you were going to go into just, let's say, a 20-foot WWE ring,
yeah,
have you ever done high spots?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can do that. I mean, if we need to write a match out, we can do all that kind of stuff. And often what I end up having to do if I'm working with guys in the States is, I have to put that together. I can't just go out there and just work a guy because I know he's going to get lost or he's going to blow up or what have you with the way that I wrestle. So, yeah.
I've seen you chain wrestle and incorporate holds on guys, vice versa, you reverse out, but I've never seen you do any high spots. Like, you're not, but when we're talking about high spots, we talking about transition, we talking about tackle, drop down, hip toss, get it again. You see what I'm saying?
I can do it if I have to. I can run ropes. I can do all that kind of stuff. But I usually am just like, hey man, if you throw me in the ropes, I'll hook them. If you try to Irish whip me, I'll hook it or I'll reverse you, but I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
But also, it's to Inoki made a big point about creating your character and working around that and using your element of the process of your character as part of the story that is needed for that opponent to overcome. And also for your weaknesses for that opponent to be able to exploit. So all this makes sense when the fans watch. It's like, oh, well, he just took a kick, but he took it this way, and now I see why it hurt him, and because he's always weak on that side, or whatever, or him talking about if he would wrestle under the Giant, he goes, I'd stay by the ropes, and I don't want to go direct into this guy. I'm going to kick at his knees, I'm going to do this, he's going to grab me, I'm always going to hook the ropes, I'm going to try and keep him from ever being able to grab me, and then I got to try and get around him. And so he's always looking at it like a fight. Who's Andre the Giant? What's his physical gifts? What is his moveset? What is his mentality? How do I deal with that? And knowing that, then how does he use that to take me out of my game? How do I then suffer at his hands? So then you start thinking about how to build heat. Man, it's easy. You can feed them the exact thing that they need. You can fight back in a way that allows you to be cut off smartly. And then you can build this whole idea of a match based around the reality, even the worked reality. But everything has to have some sort of a foundation behind it. That's my whole thing is that you can do any move you want to do, honestly, as long as the foundation's right and the selling's right. If you start overselling, that kind of screws things up too, in my opinion.
But on a note, just as far as the Japan style goes, when I would go over to Japan the 3 times that I went, one time, just one shot, and then a 3-week tour, all of a sudden you go out there and you're working with guys that are Japan guys, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, those guys, and man, holy smokes, they go out there and light a crowd up. And it's like, I'm supposed to follow that?
Yeah.
You can't.
Intimidating, very much.
You can't. So. Yeah, I mean, you can't follow it if you're going to try to do what they just did. That's not my wheelhouse. So don't go out there and try to do what they did because I can't do it.
Right.
Stick to my stomp and kicking. Oh, this before I got dropped on my head. I was still a little bit more scientific, but kind of a Flair wannabe, which didn't really work for me. But
in the stunning days?
Yeah, stunning days. I tell you what, you're not too stunning when you're over there and that crowd doesn't pop the way an American crowd pops and they're waiting. If you get to the ropes, they'll clap for you if you got out of submission, this, that, or whatever. And I'm not a submission guy, so
Yeah.
going over there was a challenge.
Sure.
And I wasn't deep in the business, as I would become, a little more savvy in my later years, especially as Stone Cold. But just over there, too, all of the points that you made about putting the match together with respect to the character, going over to Japan and trying to work in front of that crowd is different. Okay, let's talk about the New Japan coming to Long Beach, California on July 1st and 2nd. It's going to be a Saturday and a Sunday show.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, or New Japan, does stuff with Ring of Honor?
They do. They have some working agreement, I believe, with Ring of Honor. So they've sent New Japan guys to Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor has sent guys over to New Japan before, and they've had plenty of matches set up that way. There's been some great stuff out of the recent run that we've had of Ring of Honor guys, two of them, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, two awesome workers, doing these never open weight matches against Katsuyori Shibata, which they were hellacious matches, especially when it comes to watching guys just get stuck in with each other and just working a real serious, no bullshit match. They were great. I loved it. JR did too, man. We'd watch these things and just take our headsets off and be like, this is a great palate cleanser sometimes when you see some goofy stuff and then you get something like this where these guys are really just putting it all out there. Like every single second of every match is important because at any time, in fact, in one of them, there was just a quick turnaround, one counter, boom, into a finish. It was over. It was like, well, you make that mistake and it's done.
Okay, do you think, as an American wrestler going over to Japan, back in the day, and I would imagine it's still the same because their presentation of the product is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
The fan base is still the same. Okay, when you go over there as an American wrestler, you don't know the system, it messes with your head because, man, for the most part, back in the day, we're calling it in the ring, at least 70%.
Sure.
So you're calling in the ring, all of a sudden you do something to elicit a response. You're not getting a response that you're used to getting, so you can proceed accordingly.
Right.
So it can be difficult for an American person going over to make that transition to Japan. Okay, flip side, from Japan, come to the States. Do they think that working for a stateside crowd is easy because of the nature of the crowd? And two parts to that question. First of all, from a traditional standpoint where you're just working a crowd and they're coming whenever you want them to come, or these new crowds that this is awesome, or the crowds that want to take over the show. How tough is it for the Japanese guys to come over and work in a style or this system?
Well, going over as an American to begin with and thinking about, hearing fans cheer for this and that and getting at times real quiet crowds in Japan, which I would later learn that didn't mean they didn't like what they're seeing, but they don't do that. They don't just pop for stuff necessarily. And, after some time, if they get to know you a little while, then that will change, especially as things become more and more known to them as far as moves you might do or certain things. Now, this card doesn't have as many Japanese workers on it as you would expect. However, them working over here, so I think most of these guys have had some experience working in an American crowd before. So if anything, I may see more hamming it up a bit, trying to get that crowd more involved in the match itself in terms of like being a part of that match with their response. But I think if you take a more straight up Japanese wrestler and stick him in that American crowd, it definitely would have to mess with them a little bit. But they also might just be thinking like, oh, I'm just having the greatest match ever because they're cheering all the time. But, over here, cheering means maybe, yeah, they're enjoying it and they like their beer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to give a shit.
Here's a question for you. Shinsuke Nakamura, have you been following anything that he's been doing in WWE, or do you even watch WWE anymore?
I don't watch WWE. I don't watch really any wrestling at all.
Just what you call?
Just what I call. Okay. But the occasional PWG show I end up at. But otherwise, I do try to track a bit of what Shinsuke does. I used to train him back in the day in New Japan for shooting and a little bit for working too, I guess. How tough is that guy? He's real tough. He's got an incredible head on his shoulders, which doesn't surprise me at all that he's been able to create the career that he's had because he's just that smart when it comes to being a worker. Even when he was learning shooting, which is his background, he was really smart and bright there too. There just is no lack of that. And he gets wrestling. He just does. And he can fine-tune and adjust whatever he does for whatever audience he's in front of. And he speaks English, although it is heavily accented. But the sky's the limit with him, honestly. But the thing I always look at with him is you got to let him be himself. Don't pigeonhole him into this sort of American wrestling formula. That would only diminish his ability to succeed in reality.
The thing that I've come away with so far in the appearances I've seen him make, going back to his first match at WrestleMania 32 for NXT in Dallas, Texas, and then just most recently the Money in the Bank match, and then before that a singles match with Dolph Ziggler. Coming from a shoot background, and I didn't know that you had a hand in some of his training, but coming from that shoot background and from a strong style, the king of strong style, man, they haven't missed the boat with this guy, but they haven't portrayed him as being as dangerous as they need to. So if they don't recognize that, then I think they're going to miss the boat with the guy. And he's a valuable guy. He's got this crazy charisma. He's got a great look. He can work his ass off. He only does what he doesn't need to do a bunch of moonsaults.
Right.
That's not what he does. But he's great, and he's got this awesome charisma, kind of like a Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury, badass strong style guy. And I'm like, man, have this guy throttling some people. Make him into a superstar. Dude, you go back in the day, All Japan, New Japan stuff. Hell, when Hanson, Brody running, rough shot all over everybody over in Japan. But they were bigger than everybody. But the guys with skill just running rough shot. This guy, when they brought Mood over, or Kabuki, going way back in the day. Do you remember some of these
I remember the Great Kabuki, yeah.
But I'm just talking about, man,
Orient
this guy.
Express.
Yeah, but this guy has something. I just think, come on, man, you're mixing it into the crowd too much.
I hear you. And that, I think, is more indicative of the way that they create their product with trying to incorporate, we need this, we need to hit this element, we need to do this, and we need to do. It's like, well, at the end of the day, what you need is this wrestler to be a badass, to be believable, to be a badass, and for his the individuality of his person to get over with the crowd. That's it. That's all you really need. With that, once all of that gets over, don't worry. Well, we need to create this Don't create the catchphrase. Don't do the this. Don't do the that. Yeah, sometimes it can work, but it'll fail more often than not. I always try to tell people, I go, look at the guys who really blew up in New York. Guys who all took a chance and did their own thing, did it their own way, didn't stay the ringmaster, didn't stay, Rocky Maivia, didn't stay all that, decided to take a break, a chance, do something, knowing that Vince might get mad at him, but boom, it took off because it's sincere. There was sincerity behind it. Sincerity always sells. Insincerity will get you on all day long, which is why they used to yell Rocky sucks until the cows came home. Not because Rocky sucked, it's just that package for him didn't work at all. It didn't allow him to be himself at his best. Then he took his heel gimmick run, ran with it, and then when he altered himself to being a face, he just took away picking on just the picking on people for no reason part and just being more of a cocky son of a bitch. But he was still essentially the same guy when he was a face, just nicer.
And they're pushing him. They're kind of, the presentation wasn't that great, and they were kind of going over the moon. Push, good-looking guy, great body, and I think when The Rock finally kind of started, and they switched him heel because they were trying to make him white meat babyface, but people just didn't want that at that time. And then all of a sudden they put him with Nation, and boy, all of a sudden he started lifting that eyebrow. And Ron Simmons was supposed to be the guy, but because of what The Rock was doing, he became that guy. And then, man, just with that heel run and then us working together and then organically people just becoming entertained by the man and the character, it was time for him to switch baby. And I don't even remember when he switched baby or if he switched, if it was a traditional switch, but he had to walk through the fire, get charred. When they said die, Rocky, die, I mean, that's some strong stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
And then all of a sudden, hot heel, and then just beloved, most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Going back to what you were saying, your take on Shinsuke goes back to my take when I went into WWE. Man, I went in there as a ringmaster. Horrible gimmick. Coming off a tricep tear, a couple of matches at ECW. Got a chance to get underneath the wing of Paul Heyman. Helped me learn how to cut a promo. And, man, when I came in there, no plans for me to be nobody. I just brought me in as a mechanic. Everybody that they brought in with me, Mark Henry, Mark Marrow, Vader, Mick Foley, they all had design pushes for those guys. I didn't have nothing for the kid here. And so, man, I just went to work, with a physical style. Didn't have no catchphrase, didn't have no mic time, wasn't trying to think about catchphrases. I was just laying my stuff in, trying to create a style that you could not see through and that you could believe in. And so I'm not talking about myself here to pat myself on the back. I'm trying to make a point going back to Shinsuke and Lanza and George Animal Steel, Jerry Briscoe. I love Jerry Briscoe. But Lanza was real helpful. And they would always tell me, Steve, he goes, it's going to take you longer to get over because you're not a gimmick. Mm-hmm. But when you do get over, you'll stay over. So I was putting in that 100%. Work. Then I came up with a Stone Cold deal after I crapped on, hey, man, Ringmaster ain't working. I got this idea. Those two married together. Boom, a little gasoline from Vince, mm-hmm. and the feud, and then all the other stuff with Brett, The Rock. Everybody, Sean dropping the title to me in 14. Then it started working. So, but it's laying that groundwork first. And I think, hey, man, lay some groundwork with Shinsuke in the form of, if you brought this guy in, he don't need to spend too much time in NXT to learn the playbook.
Exactly.
He's one of the best in the world. Bring his ass in, let him start kicking ass.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is it all gets back to why you guys even brought him over in the first place is because of this thing that he already possesses. Just let it happen over there. Don't worry about, and I know that maybe some of it comes like, well, we don't like these moves. We think this is too dangerous or this or that. And I'm like, this guy ain't going to hurt anybody. Not any more than anybody else is. And by the way, wrestling is just inherently dangerous. If you take the danger out of wrestling, which we all sign up for it, none of us are bitching about there are times where there have been negligent elements. This just wrestling alone, it's dangerous. You can blow stuff out, concussions, this and that. Shibata with that headbutt hurt himself real bad. He didn't intend to. And how many headbutts has he thrown up to that point? Fujiwara used to headbutt the damn ring post. He's all right. Relatively speaking. But don't take the danger out of wrestling. Let these guys go out there and work. I know Shinsuke's safe. He's been safe his whole career. He's not going to change that, but let him be him. Let him do what he needs to do out there. Don't worry about always having him do this to the hard cam or this or what. Just at the end of the day, if you need these things, he'll get it in there. Don't worry about it. He'll make it happen. It's just like when people would talk to me about, oh, well, we need to blah, blah, blah. I go, look, you tell me where we need to be at what point, and I'll make sure we're always there. This guy needs to get out of the ring at 4.5 minutes. He will be out of the ring at 4.5 minutes. I promise you. If you need something to happen, you just let me know where we're going with this. If you need something, we'll get there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I'm going to work both sides of your body too. I know you're going to freak out when I'm on your right. Don't worry about it. I'll get to the left when it's your turn.
I'm sitting there with Josh Barnett. I'm going to take a pause for the call. So sponsors keep the show on the air for free. Twice a week, 2 cans of audio whoop ass. Come right back with Josh Barnett. If you're in the market for a car, then you need to check out TrueCar. TrueCar gives you the price and information you need to feel confident about your purchase. When you register with TrueCar, you'll see what other people in your local area paid for the car you want. And from there, you can connect with a local TrueCar certified dealer and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. TrueCar shows you real pricing on actual inventory, so you see competitive pricing offered to you by TrueCar certified dealers for vehicles that are actually on their lots. And you'll also see all the dealer incentives before you get to the lot, so you can feel confident about the price when you show up. TrueCar makes car buying easy, no matter if you're looking for a brand new or used vehicle. And the stats don't lie. Over 3 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. There are over 13,000 dealers in that network with some 700,000 pre-owned vehicles available. So do yourself a favor and go to TrueCar for your next car buying experience. TrueCar doesn't just make the process easier, it'll also save you some money. TrueCar users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. So when you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features not available in all states.
My name is Raven, professional wrestling superstar, raconteur extraordinaire, and other adjectives. Or is it adverbs? Anyway, join me in a motley assortment of friends, enemies, ne'er-do-wells, and know-nothings as we banter about all kinds of nonsense every Monday here at the Jericho Network on Podcast One. Download and listen to the show on PodcastOne.com, the Podcast One app, and Apple Podcasts. Quote the Raven, nevermore.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Just sitting here talking to Josh Barnett. All right, that's enough about pro wrestling.
Well, last thing I got to say though, Steve, and I held my breath on this one until
Hey,
we got back on the air, and that is I actually use you as an example for a lot of some of what I'm trying to teach these kids, and I teach workers too. You know, I got Shayna Baszler, who's been just fireball up the ranks right now. I would not be surprised to see her doing some real big stuff here soon. I just sent her on a three-month tour of Japan to work with Stardom, which she killed it over there. She's been doing great stuff with Shimmer. You know, she's young, but I, started her off going, she wanted to wear the UFC. They wanted me to wear the UFC gloves and do. I go, stop. Get rid of all that gimmick shit. Well, but I go, stop. Don't do this. Don't do that. No, I know you think this is wrestling. That's not wrestling. One, you trained under Billy. Two, he'll kill you. He'll rise from the grave for that. Number two, everything you do is already over, Shayna. You're a shooter and everyone knows it, so when you punch someone, it already counts. When you kick him, it already counts. Any hold you put on him counts. Everything you do counts. In fact, the thing about you is every indie worker you're working with is trying to get to the point that you just walk in with, where all their shit means something. Oh, well, and sure enough, matches start building in. At one point, she comes and goes, "Yeah, you're right." I go, "What the hell?" I've been in your position before. But I train her. I train Tim Thatcher. I work with this kid, J.R. Kratos. I work with Nicole Savoy, who's working Shimmer, just coming back from a knee injury, and Hideki Suzuki every time I'm in Japan. I teach these guys shooting, but I also teach them, all this stuff within the constructs of working. But then and Harry Smith, who I've been working with for, probably a decade now. But it comes back to mentality. And so I use you as a great example of going out there, being sincere, making your style your element, and making it work around who you're working, and having things funnel into these ways that tell stories about what you do instead of trying to make you do things that you don't do. And if you were to ever jump out of that box, it's got to have such an impactful meaning for it. And it's not going to be something you do all the time. It's got to be that special moment. And watching guys like you work, and also relaying that whole think, shoot, but work message. And I go, you can be so much simpler than you think. The more complex you start making stuff, you can make it as complex as you want, but it's your foundation of your intent, your intensity. That changes everything. Between your punch just looking like, might as well just be someone doing a pirouette out on a dance floor, waiting for the next steps to come into line, or a punch that means, oh, he just punched him. Especially if you think about the rules of pro wrestling, which everyone has thrown away. It's like it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to punch him in the face. If you punch him in the face, that's, you're breaking the rules. So when you watch Inoki, all his matches get to this point to where he's getting trounced on, he's getting cheated on, whatever, and then eventually he gets so fired up he actually socks a guy dead in his face, and the crowd loses it. And then he shows the fist of the crowd, because it's so important that I'm so pumped and fired up that I'm not going to take it anymore, that I'm going to give it back to him. So simple. It's just a punch.
Well, and it's just a punch, but he is played by the rules, and this guy's been undercutting him, backstabbing him, cheating, doing whatever he can, and finally it's that old, as we would say here in the States, Katie, bar the door, you son of a bitch. I'm going to give you what you've been giving me. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of it, so I'm going to resort to your level. And that is the organic comeback. And it doesn't got to be 3 clotheslines, but it's just, hey, man, coming from a place of fire, enough's enough. Here's my turn. And that's what a comeback is. And it can be, golly, I'm segueing here, but you can take a comeback artistically wherever you want to take it. And I think, I'm just freewheeling here now, the comeback has been kind of taken for granted.
Yes, it is taken for. A lot of wrestling's been taken for granted. A lot of paint by numbers.
A lot of paint by numbers, but just the comeback. Everybody thinks that it's just got to be. And don't get me wrong, when I go back and look at the stuff that I laid down years ago, I changed a lot of stuff of what I did, but I was successful at it back then. But, man, the comeback is, God dang, it's just, it's your time. It's revenge time for you, and however you want to express it. And I think people have gone to so many quote-unquote schools or places to learn, and it's always the punch, 3 clotheslines. Here's a back, there's this, that, whatever. Man, when it's time for the comeback, think about this. If you're in the business or you're learning the business, the comeback is it could be the best chance where you're going to get shined up in the beginning of the match if you're a babyface. But that comeback is your chance to express what you're feeling to that crowd because you're working for them and you're working them.
Yes.
So whatever's inside you, and that's why I think almost every single comeback should be different in nature by what has been done to you. Like whatever you're doing to me as a heel, and then whatever Samoa Joe's doing to me as a heel, or whatever AJ is doing to me as a heel, it's my turn to give it back, or Shinsuke or anybody else. Hey, man, for Shinsuke, I mean, it would depend on what he's doing. If it's just a series of kicks, maybe I'm going to put that summit in the turnbuckle and just stomp the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Okay? Or I might just grab a damn arm and try to rip it off your shoulder, after I've, tried to, bludgeon your face with my fist. I'm going to grab some kind of hold on you that maybe you've been employing on me, and you've damn near ripped my shoulder off, and that's what my thing is to you. And so, and you got to have that, well, you don't got to, but I mean, this is 2017. You got to have some entertainment factor into that.
Well, for real, but I mean, it also, don't make your opponent do something that doesn't make sense just so that you can counter them to get into your comeback. I mean, that, this guy's doing nothing but throwing sharp punches and doing this and putting boots on you, and then all of a sudden he just starts running whips you in the rope and bends over for a back. Why would he do that? That's the dumbest thing ever, but this is for you can get into your thing, or he feeds you just so that it's like, well, he wouldn't do that. Find an organic way to counter, and your comeback can be in the middle of a fight where this guy's fighting back, and then you overcome it somehow, or he makes just one mistake. Then you get into your shit and start putting it on the guy because we're supposed to be the best in the world when we're out there. We're supposed to be the top of the top. Even the Barry Horowitzes and the Iron Mike Sharps. I mean, they were not supposed to be the guy that you could go beat up at the bar still. They were supposed to be, even if they're losing to the top tier guys in the WWF or whatever it was, they're still losing to those guys, right? That's a different story. So when there's that one opportunity, that's all it could take, and that can be your comeback too.
But also, when you think of what's going on in today's business, the way the game has advanced since I left the ring, at least from a WWE standpoint. And man, the New Japan match with Okada Omega, awesome off the charts, just like the first one. But the way the business has evolved, from going back to, if you're watching stuff from the 70s, and you're going to see probably 2 or 3 high spots in that match, maybe 70s, 80s. You're going to see a lot of stuff, but a lot of body part working. These days, it's a lot of, just hitting the ropes and stuff like that. But for someone staying with the comeback theme here, when all of a sudden, at this stage of the game in 2017, when your standard MO for going or for starting your comeback is the de facto 3 clotheslines, you are doing a huge disservice to yourself and the television product, because it's just really that stage, because we've gone on so much from there. And that facility down in Florida, that's 101 type stuff. I mean, that is 101. And there are people that are at that level. I've been there myself. But now in today's game, I think that we need, or from the States, so as I say we, I don't work anymore, but they need to move on from that because it's so antiquated and so 101, it doesn't deserve to be on TV.
I hear you that. I always can gripe about you get in a few shots and then you whip them. Why? Why'd you whip him? You're
had him right there where you wanted him.
Yeah. Well, stop. Don't whip the guy every time. Every time you whip him, I'm just thinking, you're just giving him a chance you're going to screw up. Every whip is either a counter or, when it's like the thing that that gets to me is that matches are the crowd knows them. They know all the ebb and flow, so they might pop on a move, but they know none of this matters. They don't come for stuff like they really care. And then they wait around, and then it's like, oh, this is the go home. It's like if they can figure that out, that's,
But they will come if you built the match for them to come.
Yes.
And you haven't catered to them, and you haven't pandered to them. You have worked them.
Yes.
Or you have, as everybody's so damn smart, worked for them to respond accordingly to what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the match or the end of the day, you're still working them.
Exactly.
They
And that's
want
the
to
difference.
jump in, hey, this is awesome, this is awesome. We're still telling the story. You're still going by what we're feeding you.
Yes, and that's a huge thing. Is you work the crowd doesn't work you. Always remember that. But in this day and age, there aren't a lot of wrestling trainers that have. Not only did they have a shoot background, whether or not they were trained as a shooter or they were just tough sons of bitches that got into real fights, but they also didn't work at that level of being in front of those crowds and telling those stories. Telling that story first, and then let everything else fall under that story. But
what is your take on? Okay, you saw. I'm using this as a barometer. I don't mean to keep bringing up the two names of Omega Okada because I know you see a lot. I saw the one from last year. I just saw the two that ended in a Broadway. So I've seen those two matches from New Japan that I can go to my memory bank and remember. But looking at those two matches, and you've seen the first one, and you call New Japan, so you're a pro wrestling fan from way back.
Yes. I started as a kid watching WWE and AWA and NWA.
So what do you think about what you grew up on, what New Japan has turned into? You're going to some indie shows with what you see in the indie scene. You just said PWG. I think it was them just had a show this past
Yeah,
Sunday.
they did, yeah.
Yeah, Marty Skrull was in town. I wanted to come by the crib and missed him. But so where are you at with the way you saw wrestling presented from back when you was a kid growing up to what you thrived on and you really sunk your teeth into, what you did and what you see now on the PWG or the indie scene versus New Japan? Where are you?
I think New Japan is hands down the best wrestling product in the world. It is easy for me and JR to call these matches. It really is. And even a bad New Japan match, we'll look at it and we can see where it's falling apart and what things it's falling prey to that we see that is diminishing that match. And that's often the same things that are plaguing the U.S. and the indie style of wrestling, to be perfectly honest. And there's a ton of good talent in the indies, but they're the indies, so you get a real wide cut of people. I mean, you could get just about anything. And so sometimes you get a really great match between two great guys. Sometimes you get one good guy and one not so good guy. Sometimes you get two people that are just too high on their own gimmicks. They're out there goofing off and doing a bunch of garbage that doesn't really make any sense, but it's got a bunch of acrobatics. So it's almost like, well, I feel like you're wasting your body's potential because this isn't going to happen forever, where you could be learning how to tell a better story and saving that for when it counts. But I think New Japan is still the best stuff, and because mainly, I mean, these guys all, especially when they go through the dojo, at least it used to be nothing but shooting until a certain point, and then they teach you how to work. And so even watching the Young Lion matches, these guys are only using a real handful of moves, but they're doing everything like they mean it, and that always makes a difference. But watching AJ over there, watching Nakamura, watching Shibata, watching Okada, these guys do stuff like they mean it. And watching when Omega and Okada get together, and Omega is trying to cripple, kill, he's trying to do whatever. When he's breaking the rules, he's doing it because he feels like he needs that extra edge over Okada to do that. And Okada has to find a way to come back through adversity and win this match, but always show that he's a champion, but that his opponent is just as capable of being a champion as well, and dangerous. And with Omega, the word that I'm looking for is unpredictable, and you want that. And watching their first match was it was an incredible match. I don't know about the whole Dave giving it 6 stars, and then he gave it an extra star after me and JR called it, which was great. I appreciated that. But I mean, yeah, it was an incredible match. But I loved Suzuki Okada, Minoru Suzuki Okada. To me, that was incredible. And Shibata and Fish, Shibata and O'Reilly. I mean, Shibata is one of my favorite guys over in New Japan, and I really do hope that he's going to be able to get his issues solid and straightened out so he can come back into the ring because
what is the
I
deal?
loved
You
it.
said this is a guy that does a lot of headbutts?
Well, no, he doesn't do a lot of headbutts, but he's just a real hard hitter, strong style, UWF-derived kind of guy. And he threw a nasty headbutt that hit Okada and juiced him hard way, but ended up causing swelling on the brain and Shibata and put him in the hospital, possibly never going to work again. So, it's a rough sport.
Dude, how old is that guy?
Maybe 35.
Oh, man, that's still young. A lot of years still in the tank here.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you said when you sign up for this gig, it ain't like it's ballet.
No.
How you feeling after all your UFC, all your catch training, all the stuff you put your body through?
Old.
30?
39. It comes and goes. I mean, today my elbows were aching. I don't know why. Must have been something in the diet, really, of anything. But I was just out in Vegas helping train Travis Brown for his next fight. I felt fantastic. I brought my guy, Shohei Yamamoto, who just fought and won a title this weekend for CXF. I finished the prep for his camp and his weight cut. So while he's eating the way I got him set up, so did I. And, it made a difference in training. But sometimes, you get hit, you get banged up. It just takes a little longer to heal up. And some days you get out of bed and turn the wrong way. And, okay, well, guess I'm going to have to deal with that for a bit. There's just only so much that the body can take. But I still feel pretty good. And I can work matches. I can still fight. I can do all of that. But, I'm also well aware of issues that I have that even when they're not acting up, I know that they could.
When you said nutritionally, what are you doing as far as diet?
Well, if I'm sticking to my guns, what I'm doing is basically intermittent fasting with keto around avoiding carbohydrates around non-training times. So around training, I'll have carbs, high glycemic stuff right before and right after. Anytime I'm not around training, none. No carbs at all.
Now, how long will you do the fast?
16 and 8. So I'll fast for 16 and then eat for 8. That is an excellent way to help with repair as well, too, because your body's not spending all this energy on trying to digest a bunch of food and things like that. But during that 8, you really do got to eat, especially if you're trying to keep that size on.
God dang, that's interesting. I've heard a lot of people talk about intermittent fasting. Man, I've been on this keto thing for a while. We talked about it before we started rolling the microphone. And then when I first got on the keto thing, people tell you, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just do it. Just stay away from carbs, and it'll take care of itself. It will for the most part, but then all of a sudden you start, getting adapted to it. And, when you've been used to eating proteins and carbs, lots of carbs, and then you're eating proteins and lots of fats instead, when your body gets used to those fats, then it's like, okay, now I can start eating a bunch of this stuff. Well, you can out-eat your deficit,
yes,
be on a surplus real easy.
Yes.
So keto, being on a keto diet doesn't mean, hey, you're on a recipe to drop weight. You're in a condition to drop weight if you enter ketosis and are keto adapted, if you're at a caloric deficit, and maybe your body doesn't respond well to carbs or you're insulin sensitive. So the keto thing, it's interesting because you said that a while ago, I asked you if you were still on the keto thing. You said, maybe when you go to training, you got to add in some carbs just because of what the schedule is or the demand of the grind.
And I have done trained keto and adapted to it and been all right. And you get used to it. I think keto is great, especially if you've been fairly acidic. If you've been having too much acidic food, keto can help straighten that out. The fats are good for your brain. Fats are good for your joints. Often gets rid of inflammation. For me, anyways, depending on how I'm eating, but being keto does help with that. So every now and again, I'll do keto for 4 to 6 weeks just to see if it doesn't straighten my body out and get things moving in the right way.
Now, when you do keto, like what are some of the foods that are your staples?
Lean meats, avocado, greens. I try not to eat too much of the dairy stuff, but honestly, cheese is filling and delicious. So
you're a cheese head, because I'm an avocado head, man, because I'll eat 3 avocados, because I'm looking at macros, man. I'm like, okay, I got probably, my range for protein is between about 200 to 230. I'm a little bit more high, moderate, protein than some standard would be.
I try to go a gram per pound that I want to weigh, so about 250 grams of protein. And then I'll also do stuff like I'll take a spoonful of coconut oil in the morning and things like that, just to get those those types of fatty acids in my system, which are especially good for your brain and your joints, things like that. But putting guacamole on stuff is always a pleasure. Just throw it on anything with some salsa, and you're good to go.
So what are you doing right now? You just got finished helping train Travis Brown, man. He's on been on just a slide. But, man, that dude's tough as nails.
He is tough as nails, and he's been looking good in practice. I'll be seeing him. He's going to come out to L.A. for some press stuff, so we're going to try and get more time in there. I think this could be a really great fight for him to showcase his abilities and get right back on top of that win and train.
Who's his opponent?
His opponent is Alexei Olenek, who is a Sambo guy, submission specialist. He's got like 15 submissions by one specific submission. He keeps getting everybody in. He's a hard hitter. He can knock a guy out, but he's 41 or so. So he's older. He's not a guy that's going to go long into these fights. He usually tries to get out of there in one. But Travis, 6'7", got a lot of reach, but this guy's got 80-inch reach just like Travis does, but he doesn't have that 6'7" frame. So Travis should still be able to try and keep this guy on the end of his stuff. And I feel really good about his chances here.
So how old is Travis?
30. I think he's 34.
Okay, so what's it like when, two savvy veterans like you, well-traveled with great resumes and lots of fights, when you're you're helping him out? You guys fought years ago.
Yeah.
So, seeming to me, you're almost on the same page. What is he leaning on you to help him with?
What he wanted, mainly for me to begin with, is to work with the grappling aspect and how to neutralize what Alexei might try and do. But as someone who's been training fighters for almost as long as I've been a fighter, I'm looking at things where, okay, look, you're allowing an opportunity to be scored on here, so let's make an adjustment there. Or hey, you're leaving something on the table by doing this. You're getting out of the way, but you're not making them pay for it. So it's a wasted opportunity. So let's fine tune that, and then looking at just ways in which I see gaps that could be filled, or where I see, well, yeah, you're successful here, but you can be even more successful if we just make a small adjustment, and then making adaptations per what we expect out of our opponent as well. So those might not be the kind of thing he's always going to do, but it's like, well, with this guy, he takes this stance, he does this thing, and when he fights guys that do X, Y, Z, it often gives him trouble here. So let's push him into that area a little bit, and let's see how he reacts.
Hey, man, what about this card coming up to Anaheim here in a little bit with the women's 145 title? Mm-hmm. They took it off of Durandame. How do you say her name?
Jermaine Durandame?
Jermaine Durandame. They took the belt off her.
They did?
Right. I think they did.
I don't know.
Yeah, they did. Well,
I'm not good for this either, man. I don't pay attention to anything.
My buddy Joe Romero, I thought they just took the belt off her, but they're going to make the fight. That is going to be Cyborg versus this young lady named Megan Anderson.
Megan Anderson.
Oh, so you know her?
Yeah, I do know. I know both.
I just got a highlight reel right here on my phone. Man, she looks like a bad stick of wood.
She is a serious. She's a physical lady, man. She's a real piece of work in terms of being 6 foot tall, but built like a son of a bitch. I mean, she would be a scary sight to have throwing fists down on you. Although Cyborg is not the kind of person to ever be scared about anything. I think what it comes down to is, there's that reach, but Cyborg is so quick about getting inside on people and just letting those hands go. The speed and explosiveness of Cyborg is impressive, but Megan's got some serious power and got decent reach. Big physical body like that. I wonder what the grappling deficit's going to be there, because Cyborg has been at this game for such a long time. Megan is still kind of working her way up through to find her best ability of herself. She's much younger at this sport than Cyborg is, but I mean, odds are going to go towards Cyborg, as to be expected. But I just think that kind of power and size is capable of turning a fight around immediately, and Megan is got power and size in spades.
I seen a highlight video of her that my buddy Joe sent me. It's a 5-minute clip, so that's all I've seen of her. But man, she's got great hands, and she can kick, and she's badass. Mm-hmm. So, has she faced anybody that's like a Cyborg?
No, but then who can? No one can emulate that. I mean, she's fought some aggressive girls that like to come out and throw hard and swing. and she's dispatched him. And she's been in some scraps where she's been on the bad end of getting some hits and getting her nose bloodied up and getting her head knocked around. But what she doesn't do is back off. She doesn't give ground in that way. And that has kept her in someone's face and been able to find her chance to turn that fight around. And she starts landing off, and her opponents start reeling. And that's a big difference, because it's one thing to get hit. It's another thing to be able to get hit and keep coming. You get hit and give ground, you start giving away to your opponent that you're in trouble, that you want out, that this isn't, that you don't want to go head-to-head with this guy anymore. And so Megan stays in there, and eventually she gets hers in, and then they crumble. But I don't think Cyborg ain't going backwards. Megan ain't going backwards. Somebody's going to go down.
All right. On that same card, well, the headliner is going to be, if it makes it to the octagon, it's going to be Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones. If it makes it inside, but just because you never know with Jon Jones. I think DC is going to be there barring an injury.
There's going to be odds on whether or not that fight happens, even, that you could bet on, I'm sure.
Man, Jon Jones came around, and god dang, he's such a talented cat, and just got himself into so much, and he just got himself into so much trouble. He ain't going to reach his potential.
Hard to say.
Or can he still at this stage?
He's, from all accounts that I've heard and from what we've seen, he's just a talent of very rare opportunity in any sport. But whether it's because he's not willing to listen or he just doesn't have the right people around him to keep him honest, I think maybe he's got a bit of that above the law kind of mentality because of his success and his talents and how he's been able to win at life, I guess, in a lot of ways. But, at the end of the day, man, everybody's the same. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time in general. Well, I guess you could put them on, you jump into them. But in any case, we're all basically dealing from the same stack. And
I just want to see the guy stay out of trouble and realize his potential, because just as far as potential alone, one of the most gifted fighters I've ever seen. You would be able to describe that more than me.
Incredible, yeah. He's incredible. But and there's even the idea maybe some of this is self-sabotage. Maybe there's that psychological condition of like, well, trying to destroy what you create just because then you don't have to have the pressure of keeping it up anymore. I mean, this is just me throwing out, I don't know what's going to stick. I don't know Jon Jones from Adam. So I don't know what the deal is that keeps him getting into such troublesome spots, but it has been a problem and it hasn't really gotten better. So I don't know what the deal is there, but I know that he can still fight. And I know that and I think he is a really hard fight for DC, even still, because he used strategy to beat DC, and DC fell right into it the first time. He just kept, and it was kind of a boring fight to start off with, but that was part of the reason why, was because Jon Jones wanted to wear DC out, put all his height and his weight on his arms, and make him pummel against that fence. And then eventually, as DC started to peter out, then Jon Jones just, man, did he really pull ahead on him.
What was interesting for me in that fight was that Jon Jones was able to take DC down with respect to DC's Olympic wrestling skills.
And by the fourth and fifth round, DC was petered out. He was done. As far as his gas tank was real low, and now Jon was able to stuff him into the cage and overpower him and use some size and reach. And early in the fight, that wouldn't have happened. But again, using that wall and I guess stall kind of strategy, it worked out. It took the cardio out of DC, took the endurance.
God dang, I'm a huge DC fan. What did you think about the DC Rumble fight? And then Rumble decided that no more.
I think that Rumble is an incredibly dangerous fighter, especially as he's rolling forward. But the more you make him fight, the more that gas tank starts to diminish, because I think he just puts everything into everything he does, coming right out the gate. And the more that he's got resistance against that, the more he's fighting back, the more that gas tank tends to drop. And, maybe he's just thinking, you know what, I'll go out there, put everything I got into however much I need. And then when that's done, I can just walk out of here. And if it don't work out, I tried, But maybe he'd rather throw 3 minutes of the hardest work he's ever had at somebody. And if it don't work, I'm good, versus try to set himself to be in there for 25. I can't really say, but Cormier is really going to be a hard guy to try and get that 3 minute and out kind of thing with, and so it was just always going to be a bad match for Anthony, especially as DC would continue to wrestle and get in on those legs, put him on his back, and of course, Anthony Johnson's going to get up once, twice, but then come third time, now that just not happening anymore.
When you were training for fights, I want to ask you if you have any fights left in you, but when you were getting in your fight camp, getting ready for a fight, what's the worst you've gotten gassed in the octagon? Because in the business of pro wrestling, dude, if you ain't in shape, and it ain't the same ball game, we're simulating, but it's a crowd, and you're going through, everything.
Oh, you blow up out there pretty bad, though. Yeah.
But people don't pay for you to, lay on your stomach in a rear chin lock because you blowed up. When I first joined the WWF, through my tricep injury, working with Savio Vega, I tell a story a million times on this podcast, so I won't tell it again, but after 2 months of working with Savio, I got into shape. So I know what it's like to blow up, with great workers and big venues. But when you're in there and you're fighting for your life, basically, or whatever, you're fighting for a win, when you gas, being in the entertainment business and being blown up sucks. Because them people paid good money and they didn't pay to watch you just lay in a rear chin lock.
Right.
So when you're out there fighting for a goddamn win, what's the worst you've been gassed when you're thinking, okay, because you see guys. Here's the thing. I keep cutting you off. They say, hey, you're always supposed to breathe through your nose.
Waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, Brad said, breathe through your nose. I got these deviated septums. I'd be a horrible fighter because I'd have my mouth open the whole time. And guys start getting gassed. So what's the worst you've been gassed? And tell me about when you lose it in the octagon.
The worst I think I ever gassed was Semi Schilt in a rematch in Japan. And I got food poisoning a couple weeks out of the fight. And I get in there, and I'm like, I'm like 12 pounds down from where I was. But my abs look pretty good, so this is a plus. But I remember being in on him and taking him down and just feeling like, man, I don't feel nearly as strong as I did. And at one point, I'm huffing and puffing. I'm in on this double, or I'm trying to get in on a double leg on him against the ropes, and he's trying to knock me out, all 7 foot of him. And I just remember thinking in my head, there is no way I'm going to lose this fight. Absolutely no way. And I just gutted through it and made it happen. Eventually armbarred him. Similar to that was I caught. Remember that flu that was killing people, like kids and old people, in like 2013 maybe? 14. It was this flu that was going across the U.S. and it was just wrecking business. I caught it, and I had this. I was supposed to be there on Monday in Oklahoma, and I was fighting this guy Nandor in the last Strikeforce show there ever was, and I'm messed up. I get cleared to fly by Wednesday. I get down there Thursday. I do some press on Friday, a little bit of like light workout or something like that, and then fight him on Saturday night. And I remember I get him out of there in about 3.5 minutes, I think. And at one point, I dropped in on his leg real fast, looking for a leg lock. He managed to squirt out of that, and I get up on top of him. I'm behind him, ready for a German suplex, and my corner's like, suplex, and I'm just thinking, there is zero way I'm doing this right now, because if I German this guy and he gets up, that's it. He's going to kill me because I won't have anything left. I mean, I have to be so sparing with what I do here, and I mounted him, and then eventually he turned into a choke for me, which was great, and it must have taken me probably 5 minutes to finally get my breath back. I mean, I just was like, that was it. That's all I had. There wasn't much else to go with, but I had to get out there and fight anyways. And luckily, through my MMA fights, any of the fights, of the long fights or anything like that, I mean, yeah, I feel winded and fatigued, but not in that dropping your hands, mouth open, just like holy shit. But a couple of against Semi Schilt, against Nandor, it was real. I knew that I was in trouble, and that if I didn't find ways to either get rid of this guy or to find a way to rest in some opportunity or make myself find that extra gear, I was in trouble.
Hey, man, I got one for you. Explain this to me. Man, I'm a big MMA fan. I'm a pro wrestler, used to be. Big fan of the sport. So I was talking to Pat Miletich a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about a fight he had, and he caught a guy, I believe it was just a hell of a right hand, and he goes, man, that guy was never the same. I said, what do you mean? I mean, he just was never the same fighter. He goes, I wish I wouldn't have hit him with such a nasty right hand. And it made me think, because, he says, hey, man, we're just looking to go out there and just finish a guy. We don't want to hurt him. We're just trying to finish him, to get the job done, or get the fight over, to put it away, to get the W. So what is the mindset? Because when I'm looking at you here, I don't know if you're going to go this way or that way. Are you trying to hurt that guy from a personal level, or are you just trying to end the fight or end him so that you win? Because I was thinking, hey, it's just total destruction, but it doesn't appear to be that way with fighters.
It depends on the fighter. It absolutely does.
So then what's your MO?
Me, I day of my fight, I have a playlist I listen to, and then I'm just pretty much resign myself to death. I go out there already willing and ready to die. I'm done with this earthly realm. I'm over it. And I go out there and I live as free as I can in that small window of feeling of having those chains of everyday life taken off of me, and I just try to absolutely annihilate whoever's in front of me. And my mentality is the only people that are the people that are behind me are the only ones that are safe. Anybody else, if another guy jumps into that ring, they're done too. Some from the crowd that's on their side, there are no friends at that point. I don't see anything that way. It's just conflict and war until somebody tells me that it's over. That's it. And I don't relent. I don't let off. I don't dial anything back. If I'm hitting you, the ref stops me from hitting you. That's it. If I'm cranking your arm, the ref stops me from tearing it off. Otherwise, I'm going to tear that arm off. If there's still no ref stopping me, then I'm just going to keep hitting you until I'm finished. And that's just it. Just the way I'm built. And I don't have personal grudges against people or anything like that. But I also don't expect any less. So it's just the way I am.
Are you going to fight again?
Yeah, I plan to.
When?
Hell if I know. Decided to take a break after my last fight against Arlovsky in September, and got done with that fight and that camp and everything. I just felt like, man, 20 years of this shit straight, I think it's time maybe to take a bit of a vacation. So I took a month off, went all over Europe with my ex-girlfriend and my mom for a bit, and then had a fantastic time catching up with people I don't really get to see all that often, and doing a couple seminars to help cover the cost of it all too. It's always nice to do that. And then just thinking, okay, I got a lot that I'm working on outside of this fighting life that is going to be things I'm going to be doing for far longer than I'm going to be doing fighting at this point. Fighting's the easy thing. Everything else is going to be much harder to get going on. I mean, I can get my foot in the door, but that doesn't mean that whatever I get started is going to stick, unless I can be able to devote the kind of time and attention to it that's need be it acting with movies. And the feature I did about 5 years ago should be coming out this summer, called Chuck, Hank, and the San Diego Twins. Real indie piece, but man, it's going to be a blast. So the movie stuff, TV, this New Japan gig is keeping me real busy, and there's more to build upon that than just showing up at the office, so to speak, with JR and cutting these tapes. We were doing live shows. We're going to call it live, first and second in Long Beach. They have plans for other stuff that could possibly involve us. And then there's just, I got my muscle car projects, that I need to get finished. And
what's the muscle car project?
Well, I got a 75 Formula Firebird that's getting finished up. Hopefully should be done here by the end of June or early July. I picked this Firebird up, was driving it around, and then I went to put a 204R overdrive trans in it. And then when I went and used this different cross member, it interfered with the way the exhaust was. So I'm like, all right, we got to hang up here. So then a buddy of mine was helping me out, and I wasn't around, and he heated up the primaries on the headers and bent them down and got the exhaust to make back up. But now I had zero ground clearance. So then I couldn't drive the car at all. I'm like, well, so I had to cut that off, and, and then the car sat for a while because I was like, well, I need to do headers, I need to do this. And if I'm going to put new headers on this thing, which I was going to do anyways and all this, then I might as well at least replace the 400 in it that's like 7.9 to 1 compression ratio, doesn't have any real guts to it. So I picked up this 455 off this guy, this core motor for $600. Had it all, went and spec'd it out, and had a iron-headed motor built. Well, picked up some 6X4 Pontiac 400 heads, have a smaller combustion, 96 cc combustion chamber, and 95. No, I think these are 94. The heads might have been milled a little bit. Anyways, had a 9.5 to 1 motor built, and with dual quads, and punched it out to 470 cubes. So I had this motor built. I'm like, well, now if I'm going to pull a motor, I'm going to put new heads, or put new headers, and so it just got to the point. They're like, well, let's just get this car mechanically done. Let's get all this old shitty wiring out that's been messed with. Let's put a new wiring block set up in there for new fuses, new this. Remove even all the old stereo stuff, so I can start with a fresh installation. Because the last thing I want is any wiring issues. And put a 9-inch Ford in it. Still going to run that 204R overdrive trans. Should be. Hotchkiss has done all the suspension on it. Willwood did the brakes. It's going to be fun.
What color is it going to be?
It's black.
Matte black or black?
I think I might go have it repainted black. I think I nicknamed the car the Black Machine when I got it, based on this song from this metal band called Sirathungal, which is. I mean, it's a song about a black machine. It could have been this car for hell of all I knew, but it's just I dig it. It's kind of a groovy, odd song, and I just this car screams late 70s, early 80s the way it's set up. I'm not going to grow a mullet to drive it, but I don't think I'm going to play any metal in it that exceeds 1988.
Driving a car with clearance problems anywhere is a pain in the ass,
yes.
Specifically here in L.A.
Yeah.
You live in downtown area, and in and out of underground parking with some of those dips or some of the things that you got to go over, some of the little curbs that go up.
Yep.
I used to have a 71 Formula Firebird. It came with a 455, had a Chevy 396 when I got my hands on it. Jerry-rigged all to hell. Great-looking car, but that thing ran a little bit low. And I was forever hanging stuff up. I mean,
Yep.
my headers, just everything. Just when you have a car that's your pride and joy that you love, and it just starts dragging shit, it's like tearing your soul apart.
It is a bit. As long as I'm not nailing my tubes on the headers or hitting my transmission cross member, there's certain stuff. The rest of it, I really don't give a shit. My 09 GT500. I mean, there's little chips in the paint. There's this. I know that, and now that thing is low. That's about as low as you can get by and drive in a street fashion whatsoever. And this my Firebird isn't that low at all. So before the tubes got bent down, I didn't really have too many clearance problems. I was doing all right. But if I'm going to drive it, I can't worry about it too much. Especially, some of that stuff. I'm like, it's underneath the car. I ain't going to see it. As long as I didn't knock the entire oil drain plug off, then I think I'll be all right.
Hey, one last time, talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, where and when it's going to be. They're coming to the LBC, the Los Angeles area. Tell us about the show, and you will be there.
It will be in Long Beach, July 1st and 2nd. JR and I are going to call that action live from ringside. Unfortunately, it is full-on sold out, and it sold out in 5 minutes because, hey, you guys voted us the #1 weekly wrestling show on the Wrestling Observer Awards. There's a reason why you guys have done such efforts to come out and see this thing, and we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to deliver what we believe is the best wrestling product in the world live here in the U.S. So that'll also probably air. I believe it'll be airing on Axis at some point too. So we're gonna keep it rolling with New Japan, and we got to about the point where we're only a month out. We're as tight as you can be from the in Japan product, it getting to us, getting edited so that we can go put commentary over it and then putting it on air. So we're as close as can be. We're as up to date as we're ever going to be right now.
Where can people find you on Twitter or Instagram?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Barnett because Josh Barnett was taken. And you can hear me and JR every Friday night on Access at 9 p.m. Calling New Japan Pro Wrestling. And you may even see me in a black Formula Firebird doing burnouts up and down the street here, hopefully soon. with the help of Hotchkiss and Willwood.
Hey, as you close up this podcast, I'm going to hand you a knife. This is from me to you. It's the working man from Cold Steel Knives. You were the one that introduced me to Lynn Thompson and Cold Steel Knives. Mm-hmm. My last thing for you, as I was talking to Lynn the other day, we were at the shooting range. We had a blast. We were shooting his 454 Casull.
Oh, his Freedom Arms?
Plate.
Yeah.
A 10-inch plate at 108 yards. Open sights. It was awesome. So we had a good time. When I was talking to Lynn about knife fighting, and he was, he's a Kali, Eskrima, are two of his disciplines. With respect to, I know you're a knife guy, you're a blade guy, so are you also into the knife fighting techniques?
Yes. In fact, me and Ron Balicki, one of the Cold Steel guys, we were training with Guru Inosanto while we were there for another Cold Steel member, Joey Olaski's wedding in Utah. And, Ron goes, hey, you going to go to Guru's seminar this morning? I go, what? Well, yeah, sure. So, we show up and it's like, all right, we're going to do Earth 6, Heaven 6, Standard 6. I'm like, oh God, Sinawali. I don't remember my Sinawali all that much because most of my trainers, we didn't really train in Sinawali. We just sparred and did, reactive drills. But having sticks and knives back in hands is it's always a good feeling. And to me, a stick or a knife is about the easiest thing you can ever get a hold of if you're in trouble. You either, like me or you, usually have an everyday carry pocket knife you just have on you, a Cold Steel, of course. And if you can't find that, you can find something knife-like, or you can find something stick-like. All pretty easy to get a hold of and can be very effective in the right hands. Yeah, I have been so proud of all the stuff that me and my team have done for Cold Steel as far as repping them and being a part of that Cold Steel family. It's been fantastic.
Here's a question for you. You being trained, so what are the disciplines that you know or practice in knife fighting?
Kali, Eskrima, that's where I got all my knife fighting stuff and techniques from.
Now, when you do stuff like that, are there belts, levels, or
are there? I imagine there must be. Well, I mean, you can get guru status as like master and teacher,
Okay, but you know your shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question. You don't have a knife. For some reason, someone took your everyday carry, which you always have, and I always have, because I always believe you should have a pocket knife for any kind of reason. If it's just opening a bill, much less
there's a lot of boxes that need to be open. I tell you, they talk so much shit. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, finally, someone's got you, and you don't have your knife on you, but they have a knife, and they appear to be pretty damn skilled.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this process? Or
if I've got a way to get out, I'll get out. I've seen the results of what a blade will do, and it's a good sharp one in somebody's hands that knows how to use it can do an immeasurable amount of damage super fast. Go to YouTube and go look up some of these videos. I'm not the graphic ones of people actually getting stabbed, but go watch the videos of people doing knife fight or knife defense drilling where it's like, okay, here's a live attacker, you've got a gun on them, and watch, there's this thing about this 20-foot drill, within 20 feet you might just be done. And there's people that train just to try and get around even while they have a gun to not get stabbed to death by a guy with a knife. It is so much more dangerous than people think. And there's a lot of folks out there showing knife defense drills and the way I was taught to go empty hand against a knife is this is because this is all you got left. Otherwise give them your wallet, get the hell out of there, do whatever. But in the chance that you end up in a life or death situation, here's some stuff. But all these fancy ideas of disarming a knife and all that, one of the best things you can probably try and do is to one, don't let that knife make contact with you. 2, don't get into close contact with this person unless you do have control of the knife hand in some way and can keep it from being transferred, because it's just a nasty place to be. 3, try to hit them first. If they're making a move and you can pop a jab in their face or beej it and throw your fingers in their eye, kick them in the balls, something like that. Make sure that you hit them, but don't grapple. That's going to be your worst option.
But then again, someone with no skills, the best thing to do would probably be
give them your wallet. get out.
Or haul ass.
Yeah, exactly. But hauling ass has got to be done just right, too, because you turn your back and try to run, they're going to get you still.
Good
you
point.
know? Yeah.
You might be chased down by someone who runs a 4.3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm running a 5 flat. Well, now at this stage, 5.7. I'm going to pull out my working hand. You know what? Let's just push the record. Let's push the stop button. I ain't got no comeback for that. I don't want to get in a knife fight. I was just asking what you
Hell, me neither. I hope not. I don't want to get any blood on my knife.
But I was hanging around. I went to the. Did you get a chance to go to the parking lot sale?
I did. I was out of town last time. I did send up a bunch of my students who got the pleasure of beating the crap out of that SUV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was there, but Lynn, Ron wasn't there, but Lynn was doing some stuff while we were back.
I love doing that. I love that.
Yeah, he started just getting some fake knives, and he was like going through some techniques. I was like, yeah, wow. And he goes, his solution was, hey, if you don't have a knife, you might want to run.
Yeah.
Or get out. Lynn knows his shit.
I love going to those parking lot sales, screwing around with Lynn and all those guys, and Lynn will show me out. Here's how you throw a boar spear. Or Jack Dagger will be there, showing knife throwing techniques, or Lynn teaching me how to do cuts to begin with. And then, sure enough, I did this promo thing for the UFC for their Japan market. And they took me and my training partner, Eric Hammer, and had us dress up in traditional Japanese clothing. And this swordsman was teaching us how to use a samurai sword. And he had the tatami rolled up and set up, and we were gonna do cuts. And I was the only one that nailed right through the tatami every time at the right angle, no stopping, cut right through it every single opportunity. And he's like, "Oh, you're really good at this." I'm like, "Well, I've had a little practice."
I'm talking with Josh Barnett. Let's ride off in the sunset. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, man.
New Japan Pro Wrestling coming to Long Beach, July 1st, 2nd. Sold out. Catch you later. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up his podcast and ride off in the sunset. Before I do that, I want to thank Josh Barnett for coming by 317 Gimmick Street and open up a can of audio whoop-ass with me. Always good to see Josh. It's a class act and a badass dude. Check it out. One more time, a heads up. New Japan Pro Wrestling is coming to Long Beach, California, July 1st and July 2nd. Josh said both shows are sold out. Do some due diligence for yourself. Make sure that is the case. Maybe there are some tickets hanging around. If they are sold out, more power to them. Congratulations. Hey, I'm going to give you guys something to watch. This match just took place over in Japan. It was the Okada Omega match 2. And if you go to http Kenny Omega versus Okada.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, you will see the video of the full match. And that is Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada, June 11, 2017, for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at the NJPW Dominion in Osaka. It's a rematch from their initial Wrestle Kingdom 11 match in February. Awesome match. I don't know if I like this one better than the first one or vice versa. I watched part 2 of the match before I saw part 1, so I'm a little discombobulated. A spectacular performance by both guys, a spectacular match. These guys are just incredible workers with great chemistry. Loved the way the match was presented. Hats off and a double thumbs up to both guys. Awesome match. Check it out. Let me know what you thought of the match. Send your comments to questions@steveaustonshow.com and give me your thoughts on how the match was presented. Before I get into some plugs, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SteveAustinBSR. Hey, man, we're fixing to film a new season of Broken Skull Challenge. We're going to be starting production next month. That means I'm going to have a bunch of more T-shirts coming out, and they will be at ProWrestlingTees.com/SteveAustin. If you're looking for a beer to drink and you like IPAs, I got a good one for you. Get the Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. Stop by the brewery if you live in L.A., or pick it up at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California, or order it from InsideTheCellar.com if you live in a state that they ship to. Folks, you can find everything Steve Austin related at BrokenSkullRanch.com, including the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife and a new Working Man's knife. I appreciate you guys supporting all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. And you can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and click on the Steve Austin Show banner. Folks, stay tuned. The 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Thanks for listening to The Steve Austin Show. Check out new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast One app, or subscribe at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.